Okay, so the next step is we're going to add authentication to our Next.js application. And we're going to do this using AWS Cognito, which is a auth service provided by AWS. In order to get that set up, the first thing we need to do is provision some services in AWS, which is going to allow our Next.js application to log in. So, which is going to be a Cognito, it's called a user pool, and this user pool is going to also have an app client, and this is going to allow the Next.js application to log in, add users, and then you can manage those users in AWS. So the first step here is we're going to be doing this in SST again. So we're going to create a new stack here called auth stack. And this auth stack is going to provision all the resources we need to facilitate logging in. So in order to save time, I'm actually just going to copy in the code here. So let me explain this code. So this Cognito construct is coming from SST. So we can specify users can log in with email. Using this CDK prop just allows you to add some more props, which are sometimes abstracted away using SST. So by specifying CDK, you can kind of escape hatch into some more like specific props, which might otherwise be abstracted away. So then this here is adding a user pool. Adding a domain. So the domain is going to be the address to which you can redirect users to log in. And you can see for the domain prefix, I just have this helpful utility function called getConstructName, which is going to return the app name and the app stage, and then whatever you pass it. So in this case, it will be name is going to be, the app name is TSJ, as you can see from here, right? It's specified here, TSJ. So the app name followed by the stage was going to be dev followed by whatever you specify. So it's just going to be domain. And then finally, this is a useful way that you can now return this construct from this function, which means that it can be used in another stack that is going to have dependency to this stack, which we'll need that when we deploy the Next.js application. So if I go ahead and deploy this, you'll see for me, it's going to be super fast because it's already deployed once before. So for you, it might take a few minutes to run. Now, if I go to CloudFormation, I can see this new dev TSJ auth stack. And if I click on it, you can see in the resources, there are a few things in here. And here we have we should have a user pool. So you can open that up here. And the one that we want is this one here, dev TSJ auth. It should be whatever was the one that was created most recently for you. You got struggling to find it. So if we click on that here, dev TSJ auth, then you can see that this is the user pool that's been created. And underneath app integration, this domain that we specified, so TSJ dev domain has been created. And underneath app clients, we also have this here with the callback URLs that were specified. So yeah, in summary, we've now used SST to create a new stack, which has created this Cognito user pool and app client for us, which we can now use to add authentication to the Next.js app. So I'm just going to commit this. Now we're going to set up Next.js so that we can log in to this Cognito user pool. So one thing I skipped over is that we actually specified this generate secret here as true. And if we go into the Cognito user pool, then you can see that here we have the client ID, and then we also have this client secret. Of course, I'm going to destroy this stat later, so this will no longer be, you shouldn't share these things normally, of course. So let's go to the, I'm going to provide this as a environment variables to my application. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into my env.local for the Next.js application, which is going to be Next App. And then we have, so this is only going to be for running locally for now. So we'll do .env.local. And in this .env file, we can specify some setup here. So the client ID is going to be this. And the client secret is going to be this here. And then the Cognito issuer is going to be this plus the Userpool ID, I believe, which is going to be this, yeah. So this is going to be the issuer. So this is all just environment setup to allow login. Okay, so now I need to also in my general environment. So remember before we had some setup here, we can get rid of the Discord stuff here because we don't need it anymore. Open up the env.js and use this to load those environment variables into Next.js. So this is coming from T3. So this is a T3 specific way of setting up your environment. And it's basically just making it type safe and also validating using a package called Zod, which is going to validate your environment parameters. So what I can do here is first specify the server environment, which is going to be available on the server. And I can replace the Discord configuration with the Cognito configuration, which was just added to the env local file. And then I can do the same thing for the runtime down here. So remove Discord and add the Cognito setup, like so. Okay, good. So this is going to now load those environment variables which we specified into the next environment. The next step is to then go to Next Auth. So if I come into here, you'll see that these auth options are being loaded into Next Auth here. Next Auth is configured using these auth options, which will tell it how to deal with certain events and also which providers to use. So for example here, this Discord provider, which was already included, we can remove it. And instead of using the Discord provider, we can use a Cognito provider. So coming up here, we can remove the Discord provider and instead import Cognito from the Cognito provider. And then we can define it as a provider here and use the environment config that is coming from the environment. So you can see what I meant when I said this is type safe, because this is a nice thing from T3 when I see type safety, what environment parameters I have here. And that's what that T3 environment is giving you. So this is now going to set up the Cognito provider, and I should be able to run the application. And open up localhost 3000. And when I go to sign in, you see that it says sign in with Cognito. And if I click this, and I can sign up, provide a username and password. For sign up, it's going to send a verification code to that email address. I have my verification code. I'm going to paste it in here. I can confirm this account, and then you can see I'm now logged in. Now, if I want to see who I'm logged in as, I can go into here. And this session.user, instead of name, because I don't think this is provided in the session, but if I send email, then you can see that it says logged in as. So it says here logged in, and I can sign out. And now I don't see the message anymore, sign back in, and I'm signed in. And the nice thing about using Next.js here is that Next.js is giving you a full stack solution. So what I mean by that is we have like APIs here as well. So Next.js has a server, and unlike before where we deployed a V app, if you were going to make a full stack application, you would then need to deploy a separate API somewhere to fetch data and stuff for the application. Next.js is a like all-in-one full stack solution where you can provide APIs. And with the authentication that we have now set up, that authentication is going to propagate to the backend as well. So what I mean by that is this in Next.js, we have this server. The server is created using TRPC, which I highly recommend you look into, use the documentation. And I also did a video on it before, which I'll link in the description. And also like have a look at the T3 documentation as well, because that might give information about specifically how TRPC is being set up for this application. But essentially, when I say that we have authentication on the server as well as the front end now, what I mean by that is if I come here to this router, so this is a bit like Express.js where you can just receive a request and return some stuff. I can actually come in here and I can get the context, and then I can go like hello context dot session dot user. And what that's going to do is you see like when I refresh, user dot email, then you can see that it's saying hello Ziggy from TRPC. So this is actually on the server side also using the it's also going to use the authentication and have that. So obviously this is very powerful because on the server you can do something like say, okay, is this user an admin? If so, return this from the database. And it's safe to run that code on the server because you're on the server and you control that environment. It wouldn't be safe to do something like that on the front end. And by doing it in this way, you see that it was very quick to actually set up this whole full stack application where we have login from the front end and then that user session being used on the server side as well, getting passed through. And you can, by this way, you can very quickly get started with a full stack application. You don't need anything else beyond this entire Next application, and then you can deploy it all as one, which is, it can help you move very fast. It's also obviously going to couple your front end and your back end very closely, which may not be what you want to do if you have other clients, for example. But if you are just working on building a web app and you want to write something quickly, this can be a great way to do it. So to recap, what we have now done is we've used the Cognito Userpool setup previously. We've provided Next with some environment variables to use to then load into Next Auth, which has this Cognito provider, which is going to facilitate all of the login for us. And leveraging Next Auth in this way, I know that the setup looks a little bit confusing, but yeah, using Next Auth in this way, you can bypass a lot of complicated auth logic if you were to try and set this stuff up yourself, and also have confidence that it's going to be a very well-tested, well-secured implementation for authentication. So yeah, I'm just going to now add a commit here, and we'll call it OK.